Welcome to this short presentation on the urban design analysis of Naenae Town Centre. This forms part of the consultation background to prepare a spatial plan for the town centre. My name is Steve Thorne. I'm an urban designer and I've been commissioned by the Hutt City Council to undertake this analysis. On this map, the dotted blue line shows the area we've identified as the Naenae Town Centre. It goes beyond just the shops and extends one section beyond Treadwell Street and Vogel Street. It includes the Naenae railway station, the closed swimming pool and the bowling club. The line is dotted on purpose because we know that town centres can expand and contract over time. We're using this definition to undertake an urban design analysis of the town centre as we find it today. So what is urban design about? Urban design focuses on public streets, on parks and other public places, but it is also interested in the influence of buildings, landscape and movement and what these have on those places. Our analysis draws evidence from what we found through careful survey of Naenae. From this evidence, we believe that through the consultation with the community, that ideas for addressing issues can be found. We are very appreciative of the community input given so far, which was captured by empathy in the excellent document, Voice of the Community. From Voice of the Community, the aspirations of the community reflect a focus on people, and for that reason I've highlighted the word people. The community aspires to a place which provides the basics, which allows people to stay active either through good walking access or at the pool. It is local in its focus, it provides places for gathering and making memories, and it is safe and satisfies community aspirations. We've taken these aspirations as guides to this urban design analysis. The key question in looking at the town centre is, does it support people in the way that the community want it to? A first basic question is, can I get to the town centre easily and safely? We can analyse this by looking at how people get to the centre. Access by car, by public transport and by bike are fairly obvious, but less obvious is how effective the streets and other pathways are at allowing people to walk to the centre. We therefore set about measuring this. This diagram shows a map of Naenae focused on the town centre and the railway station. We know from research that convenient walking access to the town centre is about a 5-minute walking distance, or about 400 metres. The circle drawn shows the theoretical 5-minute walk from the town centre. We also know that people are prepared to walk further to public transport, so a convenient walk to public transport, the station and the bus stops, is about a 10-minute walk, or about 800 metres. This is shown in the larger circle. These circles are theoretical because it is the actual street pattern which we have to follow to get to places. So we then measure along those actual streets to see what area of sections are actually 5 minutes from the town centre or 10 minutes from the railway station. When an area is performing well and there is a good network of streets, more than 60% of the section and residences are within the theoretical circles, and they should be able to get to the town centre in 5 minutes and the railway station in 10 minutes. So how does Naenae perform? This diagram shows in purple all of the areas which are able to get to the town centre in 5 minutes, when they follow the existing streets and the safe pathways. Clearly the street system isn't working as well as it could, especially in areas to the north of the town centre. A good walkable neighbourhood should have a street network which allows at least 60% of the sections within that theoretical circle to actually be able to get to the town centre within 5 minutes. And so at 39% it's underperforming. Again on this map we show in purple those sections which are 5-minute walking distance to the town centre, and we add to that in blue those areas which are 10 minutes walking distance to the railway station. And again, the street network isn't performing that well, especially to the north, the southeast and the southwest. So there's something about the street network which could be improved to make Naenae more accessible and more walkable. It's worth reflecting that some streets were removed when the town centre was built. This photo from the early 1950s shows the future streets ghosted over an aerial photograph. From this it can be seen that there was a connection between Hollands Crescent all the way through to Treadwell Street, and this link has since been removed. This historical photo shows the newly built pool in the middle of the photo and the town centre under construction on the right. The link from Hollands Crescent to Ryder Street is still in place. You can see it running alongside the bowling greens. Today we can still see the alignment of that street, which was removed, and the street trees which used to line the street are still there. The street has been replaced by a footpath and a pretty impermeable wall along the bowling club. So apart from the street network meeting community needs, do the buildings support community aspirations? Again, we can measure how they perform. We can assess and measure how active the fronts of buildings are that face the streets and public spaces. We can categorize them as either good, average, or poor. Good active frontage is when there are doors and windows that face the street, and there is a positive engagement between the people in the building and the people in the street. They can actually see each other. An average frontage is when the visual and physical links between the building and the public spaces, such as streets, is difficult, such as this example, where the tunnel ramps make it difficult to access the buildings, and the glazing has a mirror effect, making it unclear what the building is about or where the entry is. Poor activation of the front of buildings is where we find blank walls with no doors or windows. We can assess and map these at Naenae, and we can show how the town centre is actually performing. As the survey shows, the majority of the fronts of buildings have a poor relationship to the street, to the plazas and the parks. We've quantified this, and as you can see, work needs to be done to improve the relationship between the buildings and the public spaces, as well as the streets. This is important because poor frontage reduces a sense of safety, because there is little or no surveillance of the streets and the public places from buildings. This is very important at ground floor level. With so many blank or painted over buildings, and so on, what would the difference be if we improved those visual links? Here is one example of a change to buildings which could make a difference. This image is taken from the station platform looking towards Hillary Court. The storage buildings block any view of the court. However, if a visual connection was made, the effect would be dramatic. People at the station would feel more connected to Hillary Court and would feel safer. The visual link would also make people more aware of the station from Hillary Court. It is difficult for buildings to have active fronts all round, and we all understand that buildings have a clear back and a clear front. We can measure and map these to get a closer understanding of the dynamics taking place in Naenae. The map shows that many buildings, or rather many public places, have the backs of buildings that face them. Cambridge Terrace has the back of storage buildings facing the street, and the park between the bowling club and the pool has the backs of those facilities facing onto these important public spaces. As any shopkeeper will tell you, footfall and exposure are key to a successful outlet, as is convenient parking. Naenae has varying degrees of exposure to passing traffic, both cars and people walking, and we've mapped these and categorized them as good, average and poor again. The surrounding streets such as Cambridge Terrace, Treadwell Street, Everest Avenue and Vogel Street give a high level of exposure. This should encourage building owners and tenants to face these, yet as we have seen from other maps, many buildings do not take advantage of that exposure. This is the building frontage map. This represents an opportunity lost to businesses as well as a reduction in the quality of the streets and the public spaces. We've also mapped Places where there is protection from weather, shown in the blue lines along the building edges. Protection from the weather in the form of awnings is limited to the shops. The analysis also shows that there's very limited public seating in and around the town centre, which is shown in brown, and it's mainly focused on Hillary Court. The town centre, like it or not, presents an image to the outside world. This is generally dominated by uncoordinated and poor colour choices. Buildings are often covered with poor quality advertising and signs, which further reduce the impression of the town centre. These all diminish the unique character of Naenae. In other places, there's evidence of more control over colour, of signs, and of the architecture. These simple measures would have a significant effect on improving the presentation of Naenae Town Centre to the outside world and make it more attractive and more used. Community aspirations are for greater gathering spaces, for special occasions, and for places where special memories can be made. Hillary Court is one such place. We can measure and map and assess all of these public spaces in the town centre. The overall town centre is about 15 hectares in area, of which 1.2 hectares is large, usable public gathering space. These are shown in brown in the case of Hillary Court and green in the case of the parks around the swimming pool. This is about 8% of the area of the town centre, which, as a rule of thumb, is pretty good. The quality of the spaces is likely determined by the quality of the buildings at the edges. So the question is, how much of the 8% lacks active frontage and supportive development? When we analyse the buildings facing these two spaces, we find that 77% of the buildings are rated as poor in terms of activation and visual connection. This is a very poor result and an area for potential improvement. So at this point, we ask that you think about the possibilities to improve Naenae Town Centre. Your aspirations are clear, and I've shown some suggestions for improvement. However, we look forward to hearing more from you so we can move towards improving the performance of the Naenae Town Centre. Please let Hutt City Council know what changes you would like to see, and thank you for watching the short presentation on the urban design analysis of the town centre.